All right, peace and blessings. Assalamu alaikum, shalom. Thank you for taking the time out to join us today, family. And let me just get this squared away. Okay, so today our topic, we started on it yesterday, but we went 4 hours into it, and then as I was getting ready to post the video last night, then I realized we really didn't talk on the other part of our conversation about dealing with the pressure. We talked about the different instances where the pressure is applied, right? But how do we comfortably, or not even comfortably, but how do we withstand the pressure of the enemy's world, right? So your body, every second of the day, every square inch on your body is under, it has 8 pounds of atmospheric pressure on your body, 24 hours, 7 days a week. You're under atmospheric pressure. And you don't break. You don't crumble. You fall down, you get your ass back up. But you're not destroyed. But when it comes to the pressure that's on you in the enemy's world, depending on how strong your foundation, we break, we crackle, we get skinned because of the pressure. And because of pressure, sometimes we fail to make proper decisions because of the pressure. I was reading something the other day, and it was comments that I was reading. And our people were talking about the pressure of being Black. The pressure of being Black in the white man's world. The pressure to overcome so much of not just evil, but overcome the immorality. Pressure. Pressure. We as a people being brought to America on slave ships. Pressure. We as a people being sold here and split here and families torn apart. Pressure. Working from can't see morning to can't see night. Pressure. Being abused and misused. Pressure. Trying to find love, acceptance, validation, pressure. So every turn, and for those who say that, well, I was never on a slave ship, my people were already here. But being forced into slavery, pressure. Me, myself, I don't by the argument, but we're going to let that just go for today, because still you under immense pressure. As the world is watching the eyes of Israel bombing the Palestinians, killing them like they're drinking water. Pressure. When you look at the study that was done that says by 2043 or 2053, the Black median wealth situation is going to be 0%. Let me see if I can find that real quick so I can say it properly. Yeah, so it's the racial wealth divide at the median over the next 4 to 8 years, as well as 2043, when the country's population is predicted to become majority non-white. We also looked to wealth rather than income to reconsider what it means to be middle class, and finding an ever accelerating gap. We consider what it means for the American middle class, and we explore what policies and interventions could reverse the trends we see today. We find that without a serious change in course, the country is heading towards a racial and economic apartheid state. So they're saying by 2043 that the Black wealth gap, median wealth gap, will be 0. 2053, the median wealth of Black Americans will fall to 0 by 2053, warns new report. 0. That's more pressure. That's more pressure. So you're constantly under pressure. And how do you survive? How do you navigate through the pressure and not find yourself being taken under the weight of the pressure? How do your knees don't buckle? You don't drop to your knees under the weight of that kind of pressure. A brother said to me the other day, Brother Tristan, we were talking back and forth through inbox, Facebook inbox, and he said he wasn't feeling good. And I said, brother, well, what's wrong? You know, and he said, you ought to come and see. I said, what happened? He said, well, go to my page and read on my page because I don't really feel like talking. So I go to the page to check, and I see that our brother's daughter is dead. And it all started over a police officer being who they are, the enemy. And next thing you know, our sister's dead. And so him as a father reliving this, because I'm quite sure it's a mental weight. It's a mental weight. It's a mental pressure that you see your daughter. 1 minute she's breathing, 1 minute she's talking, 1 minute y'all loving on each other. In the next minute, because the enemy injects their way into your life, she's dead. Pressure. Pressure. And so you are a people. We are a people in an environment that is crucial to your own survival, and you gotta stay sane for the benefit of yourself and others, for the benefit of your loved ones. You gotta stay sane. It's a struggle. The pressure. It's a struggle. And it ain't an easy struggle. Now, our ancestors were forced to struggle. You forced to struggle. We forced to struggle. If you look into religion, you see struggle there. You know, Jesus, when he goes before, what is the cracker name? Pontius Pilate. And here's an innocent man that did good for people. But when the Pontius Pilate brought him before the people to let the people decide, he gave him a choice. He said, here's the man Jesus that you know, and here's the man Barabbas that you know. Now, one of them gonna die, and one of them I'm gonna set free. Now, Pilate didn't find Jesus to be in error, but the so-called Jews wanted him condemned. So Pontius Pilate say, I'm not gonna make that decision. I'll let y'all make that decision. I don't want this man's blood on my hands. So he went before the people and said, which one do you want to save? Jesus or Barabbas? The good man or the thief? And the people chose the thief. The thief. The people chose the thief. And to kill the man who has done good. Now that's pressure. That's pressure. When you stop and think about the different times in your life where you done good, but what they do, people stab you in the back. And that's more pressure. And you say, well, what the hell did I do to deserve this? What did I do to deserve for you to stab me in my back? For you to become a traitor? For what good have I done to you for you to turn on me in such a nasty manner? What is it that I've done? See, you've had these thoughts, you've had these communications in your mind, you had these conversations with others, and it does, if it don't break you, it makes your knees begin to buckle, right? It makes your knees begin to bend because of pressure. It was a situation where one day I was under attack, and I had to come before the people to fight off the attack. And I asked the brother who was right there with me the whole damn time to come and fight with me to clear this bullshit up. Because the liar, man, they trying to crucify me. And the brother said, no, I can't do that. I can't do that. I understand what you're trying to do and what you're saying is right. And yeah, I was there, so I witnessed, I know firsthand what happened. But I can't get involved in that. But he called me brother. And that was pressure. That was real pressure. Now, of course, I didn't break. I didn't fall apart and say, okay, oh well, I just let it go. That ain't what I did. It hurt. It hurt because you are willing to watch me be crucified, and you knowing the truth, you refuse to open your mouth, but call me brother. What kind of brotherhood is that? There's no brotherhood. And so a lot of our conditioning is the way that it is, not because we are not good people. Because our nature, we are good people. But under the pressure will make you do things that you wouldn't normally do if the pressure didn't exist. So what that means is that our foundation has to be strong. Our foundation has to be secure so that when the storms of life come, it's not knocking you off your foundation. Because the storms of life will always come. But it's how you handle those storms that dictate the kind of person that you really are. And we're all, every day that we live, we can either get better or we can get worse. But you gotta have a strong support at the foundation, because it's that strong support at the foundation that when your knees begin to buckle, that they can say, no, brother, I got you. And they level you back out. We got you. You ain't gonna buckle. We moving together, right? And it's that kind of support system that you need. Just like in building houses, they got a certain wall that's, I forget what the wall is called, but there's a certain wall in the house. Thank you. Load-bearing wall. Now that wall you can't mess with because it's carrying the weight of the house. And so your foundation has to be strong enough that it can carry the load. That you can carry the weight. And see, this is another reason why you see people get involved in relationships, get involved with activity, and then they do real good at the start out, but then they don't maintain, because carrying the load is heavy. So last night we were discussing, me and Brother Omar, and we began to talk about the Nation of Islam. And I asked him about a brother named Elias Muhammad from Nashville. And as I reflected, because Brother Elias said to me, you know, I'm making you to take my place. And when he said that to me, I knew he was serious, but I wasn't worthy. That was just my thinking. I'm not worthy to take your place. So once he said that to me, I stopped coming around it. I stopped coming around him. I mean, this brother was teaching me the history of the nation, teaching me Islam. I mean, we were really having, you know, great lessons. And in the lesson, you know, he and I were beginning to bond. And there were times where, you know, he's giving me the lessons and I'm just crying. I mean, I'm just crying. And next thing you know, he started crying. And I'm like, what are you crying for? But, you know, it was in that stage. I didn't understand it then. I understand it now. I didn't understand it then. But when Brother Elias had died, and I didn't know he had passed away, I just showed up at his house one day to check on him because I hadn't seen him in years because I stopped coming when he said he was making me to take his place. And I knocked on the door and his wife come to the door and said that he had passed away. And me thinking about that, and even now, last night I began to cry because his hope was in me being able to take his community into the future, into the future. And when I reflected on that, and still now, it still makes me very sad because under the pressure, I ran. Because I didn't think that I was good enough to lead anything, let alone take charge of this, you know, community that you've got of Muslims. I never thought that. That's not even something that I envisioned for me to be. And I wasn't even a part of that community. And so when I reflect on that, it makes me very sad because I know what his desire was for me and for his community. But we cannot afford to run. We can't afford to not accept our mission because he saw something in me that I didn't see myself. He saw something in me that I didn't see, that I didn't know that was there. And so have many others. I just didn't believe it to be true. So you may be a drunk today, but if you keep developing, tomorrow you'll be a superstar. Just think about this. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad, before he was the messenger of God, he was an alcoholic. He was so drunk one day, he was laid out over the train tracks. And they had to come, his wife and his children had to come and pick him up and bring him home. But years later, that same old drunk that you had to pick up off the train tracks, look at him now. He came into his own and became a leader. like no other. And so under the pressure, you got to have those support beams. You got to have those people around you that's going to not demotivate you, but motivate you. That's going to push you forward. And a lot of us may not like to be pushed forward. You don't want to be corrected and guided. You don't want counsel. But you got to understand, we all need counsel. We all need counsel. When I think about this work that we're doing in Mississippi, and you understand, I understand the results when we're successful. Future generations will be affected by what we do. You think about this. Ho Chi Minh, his initial group, 20 people. Out of that 20 people, they took a nation just with 20 people starting out that was committed. Look at Hitler, his group. He started with seven people, and they only had two objectives. One was to make their party the ruling party in Germany. And their second was to not compromise. That was their two rules, to make their party the ruling party of Germany and to not compromise. And out of 7 people, they took that country and then took on the world and damn near won. It started with 7 people. The civil rights movement. It didn't start out with a majority of people. 5, 10 people. And out of that 5 or 10 people, they begin working to move a nation, to move a people forward. And look what they produced. You may not agree, I may not agree with their goal, but it moved us from point A to point B. Look at the founding of America. When those 13 colonies got together, not everybody in the 13 colonies wanted to fight the king. Not everybody wanted to do that. But they got with the ones who did and said, look, this is the direction we're going. So from 13 colonies, and not everybody agreed, they went to war with the king to produce freedom for everybody. Whether you agreed in that way or not, they took it upon their shoulders. And now you have a United States of America. And those who were loyal to the king, once they got free, they didn't get their ass in no boat and say, to hell with you, I'm going back to the king. They stayed right where they at to take the luxury, of what they had done. Oh, wow. Brother Carlton, thank you for the information. Brother Carlton said 35% actively resisted and supported the British Crown against the Continental Congress. So they were fighting against what the Americans wanted to do. But the Americans, those who wanted to be free, they prevailed. And that's pressure. That's pressure. So you got to be loyal to yourself and to your idea. And you got to be able to withstand that pressure. So the question that's within the pressure is validation. Validation. Because people look for validation. Now the question has to be, who are the proper people that you look for validation in? Or even should we look to other human beings for validation? You better listen. Because all look for validation. We all do. We all do. You look to your wife, your husband, your children, your employer, your best friend, your buddy. You look for validation. But where is the true source of validation coming from? Because look at it like this. You setting up with a friend and you saying, look, man, you know, I don't like this over there. I'm gonna go do this. I'm gonna go bust that nigga upside his head and take his money, steal his car. And you talking it with your buddy for approval. Now, if your buddy say, well, yeah, that sounds real good. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, do it. He don't pump you up to make you go do something dumb, and then you get in trouble. But if he said to you, brother, that don't make no damn sense. Don't do that. That's just gonna make the situation worse. And then them two have a good conversation. Hopefully he can talk the person out of making a dumb decision, rather than reinforcing him to make a dumb decision. But our validation must always come from the God that we serve, not from the cracker God, but from our God. That has to be the source of your validation. That has to be. That has to be your backing. Your backing. And you gotta have faith enough that the way you move, the right people is going to come around you when you need them. The right people will come around you when you need them. But you got to have faith in that. And you can't be weary, well, maybe today and not tomorrow. No. When we first started this Mississippi campaign, we first started it. And there were very few of us when we first started. Then we got hacked. Then we had a whole lot more. Then we hit another move, and then lots fall away. But you still had your committed ones right there. And you begin the process. And the more along that road we were going, the more different people started to come around who had better knowledge and understanding than I do, but I can lean on them. I can call on them and say, hey, your brother needs some help. Can you help me? Like Brother Carlton, we called him and said, Brother Carlton, hey, we need help because we trying to get this to sound right and to be worded properly. Help us. Brother Carlton said, yes, Brother Muhammad, I got you. I got you. That's pressure off. That's pressure off. And you ain't got to worry about it because my brother got it. Right? And so the thing that we got to understand, even though we're under that pressure, we got to be the valves to release the pressure for one another. Because if you don't release it, then you're going to run into a big problem. Now, I want to go real quick and share and talk about this scene from Fences that we discussed yesterday, but yesterday we were getting Brother Omar's view on it, but today I'm going to give you my view. Because I want us to understand, because Troy, right here, this black man, you identify with that man. I identify with that man because he is us. He is us. So let's just check it out. And I'm gonna stop it at certain points to give commentary and pick it back up and keep on pushing.
Why don't you go ahead and let the boy play football, Troy? Ain't no harm in that. He's just trying to be like you.
I don't want him to be like me. I want him to get as far away from my life as he possibly can. You're the only decent thing ever happened to me, Rose. I wish him that. But I don't wish him nothing else from my life.
Okay. So now we as fathers, we all know that we wish for our children to be greater, to be better than what we are or what we were, right? We don't want them to fall in the same pitfalls that we fell in. We want to give them the proper knowledge and the understanding so that they don't do that. And coming in a world that at this time, I think this was like the 50s or 60s, 40s, something like that. In that time period, it was even worse being a black man back then, because you couldn't even walk on the sidewalk. When you see the cracker, you got to get off the damn sidewalk and let the cracker walk, and you can't even look them in their eye. So you know that you're a man, but in the presence of that cracker, you cannot be a man. You got to be a boy, and he'll call you, come here, boy. Boy, you ain't this, or boy, you ain't. And your son or your daughter can be standing right there next to you. And this cracker is snatching your manhood. And yet your children, your wife, are supposed to look to you for protection, for defense. And you got the cracker taking out your insides and destroying it. No man wants his son to go through that. No man. So that's normal. Let's listen.
Decided 17 years ago that boy wasn't going to get involved in no sports. Not after what they did to me in sports.
Why don't you admit you were too old for the major leagues? For one.
17 years ago, he said he had already pre-decided that his son ain't going to deal with no sports. They're not going to do him, his son, the way they did him. He's just not going to do it. It's already predetermined. That's not going to happen. Because I know what they did to me, they're going to do the same thing to you, because the system doesn't change. And if you look at the way the sports world is today, the system hasn't changed.
Why don't you admit that?
What you mean too old? Don't come telling me I was too old. I just wasn't the right color. Hell, I'm 53 years old, can do better than Selkirk's 269 right now.
How is you gonna play ball when you're over 40? Sometimes I can't get no sense out of you.
I got good sense, woman. I got sense enough not to let that boy get hurt over no sports. Mothering the boy too much, worrying about whether people like him or not.
Everything that boy.
Okay, so he goes back and says, you know, you're mothering him too much. Boy wondering about whether people like him or not. And so Denzel is saying that's not your prime focus, whether somebody likes you or not. And this is correct. And this is still part of our goddamn problem. That you want somebody to like you when these people don't even take care of their responsibility to you. How the hell can they like you when they fail to do what's responsible by you? There was this during one of the protests, black girl said to the cracker, can I get a hug? And the cracker said, no, I ain't giving you no hug. Why? Why do you seek validation in your enemy instead of validation that you find only in God? Because you see the cracker as your God. As your God. See, when you understand the saying that the black man is God, when you understand that and you get with other black men and they're vibing on that same level, then you're dealing with God. And they're not going to lead you astray. They're going to be there for you. And vice versa. That's why the enemy don't want you to get along with each other. The enemy don't want you to see the divinity in each other. Not the divinity in the black man for the black man, nor the divinity in the black man for the black woman. They don't want you to see that. They don't want you to be able to tap into that. They want to always keep you divided and going at each other. Because the longer you're divided, going at each other, you're not coming together to get rid of him. He still rules. He still rules. But you got to go by the standard of right. You got to go by the standard of right. And understand that. See, it say in the scriptures, it says, we war not against flesh and blood, but principalities and powers and rulers of the darkness, I think it's the darkness of the wicked of this world or something like that. Something like that, but something with the darkness and the wickedness, something like that. And so you understanding that when it's saying, well, it's not flesh and blood, meaning human, body, I see you, you see me. But it's higher. It's higher. You're going up into a mindset. You're going up into a mindset. And you got it in order to defeat that mindset, your mindset has to be different. It has to be based in the reality of God, based in the reality of who you are. Because you're not going to be able to defeat evil, and you're being evil as you're quote unquote trying to defeat it. You got to come out of her You got to make an exodus. You got to make an exodus. You can't have your feet in two worlds at the same time. One world in righteous and one world in wicked. See, the problem is that you keep fighting God's will for your own life. Why? Why do you do it? Who do you think that it's empowering? It ain't empowering you. It's hurting you because you're not developing into the man, into the woman, into the God that you're supposed to be. You're not developing. You're an aborted fetus because you're opposing God's will for your life. And you ain't gonna be successful. You got failure after failure after failure after failure. God damn! You ain't tired of failing? Don't you want some success? But you're not going to get success if you keep refusing to accept your own and be yourself. See, you done got so goddamn comfortable in the crackers world, in the dying world. You're so goddamn comfortable that there's a requirement now upon you to change. To change. And see, you don't want to change. You want to resist change. Why? Why? Because you're too old? You done got used to doing what you do and getting the same damn results, and you can see it in your own damn children. You can see the same patterns in your damnable life, in their damnable life. And you wanna refuse change. But it's the change that's gonna elevate your life into the life that you were born to have. See, look, if you were meant to be a no good nigga, that somebody just go along to get along, then you would not be a valuable person, right? You got to look in the circles where you are and say, what is the activity that's going on there? What is the activity? And if the activity is about life, giving life, doing the real work, then that's life there. And it's a sign of what you got to do, what your calling is. But you cannot ignore the instruction. You cannot ignore the call. Like me, I look here. Before I accepted the call, I was running, doing this, doing that, because I didn't see what was within me. Even though I got all these people telling me the same damn thing, I wasn't going to buy it. I wasn't going to buy it. Until finally, I was in a situation where I ain't had nothing else left. And I had to say, okay, God, you win. What do you want me to do? I submit. You win. Let's get it together. Let's get it together. Look, before my mama died, and she died when I was 13, I thought literally that I was going to be a bum. Seriously, that's what I really believed when I was growing up in North Philly, that I was going to be a bum. But I sit back and I look at myself now and the different things that happen and how one turn turned into another turn, turned into another turn. And to be where I am today, doing what I'm doing now. And some of my friends from the military, we was in the same unit. And they say, well, we found each other on Facebook and they say, damn, Reese, you still doing it. You held on to that black stuff. I said, yes, sir, I sure did. And they like, wow. And that they're originally they are happy that I did hold on to it. Because holding on to it for me meant that I was holding on to it for them. Because they saw me go through the changes. They saw me being, all gun-ho and hoorah and, soldier. And they saw me making the changes to be black first, to be, I'm all about my people. They saw, they witnessed the standoff when I said to the crackers, let me go or we're going to kill you. And they knew when I did that shit, oh, that nigga done, he done pushed it too far. He going to jail now. I ain't going to no goddamn jail. I walked up on out of there victorious. Because if I win, they win. So their hopes was pent on me being successful and not being able to be crushed. Because if I can push through, then it means they can push through. You got to understand your value. You got to understand your worth. Dang, it's 1 o'clock already. I ain't even get through with the thing that I wanted to finish talking about, but to suffice it to say that you are a special people. You are beautiful people. But you got to clean up now and get ready to rule. So just like I was telling you about that study, which said that the wealth, black wealth will be zero by 2053. Zero. And that's something we're gonna have to do a program on because we got to get into that. How does our wealth gonna go to zero? And then 20 years later, the quote unquote Hispanic wealth is going to go to zero. But the white wealth, they said, is going to continue to increase. So black wealth is going to move to zero. Hispanic wealth going to move to zero 20 years later, but white wealth is going to increase while America has become a non-white majority country now. So the blacks and the quote unquote Hispanics gonna lose wealth, but the cracker gonna gain wealth. So we got to get into that study and see what is it talking about and how this is supposed to happen. And they said in there that it has to be some governmental changes. And so we're taking power. So we're gonna see what governmental changes are they saying that's needed. Because there was another report done in 65, I think it was 65. And it said the government needs to make these specific changes in order to save the black family. And those changes were not made. And now you look what that report said will happen. It's happened. It has happened. So we're going to get into all of that so we'll know the economic situation and what must be done. So, just suffice it to say, you've got pressure all around you, but don't break. Get you some strong supports around you and you'll make it. You'll make it because you were born to make it. See, this is not the time of the 50s, 60s, and 40s where you sing along to get along. This is the time of fighting. This is the time of fighting back. This is the time of taking what we want. This is the change of worlds. So you're living during the change of worlds. That means that you were born for a specific reason. And that's to help bring into fruition a new reality based on righteousness, based on truth and justice and freedom. Our way. Our way. What it say? The last shall be first. Black first. So as we say, always, family, definitely love you and thank you for coming to check out our noonday message. We ask that you share the word. And if you have time, go on my Facebook page and find the video Dangerous. That is the video that YouTube hit our channel with a medical thing, so we can't upload on YouTube for 7 days. So we will be doing it on Facebook since we're under suspension on YouTube. But we love you and we thank you. And as we always say, you kill the nigga in you, I'm gonna kill the nigga in me, and our God will reign supreme. We are Black first, today, tomorrow, and forever. Love you, family. Peace and blessings. Assalamu alaikum. Shalom. Y'all be safe out there today.